Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. And a warm hello for those who joined the Instagram Live. I chose to launch The Art of Solitude today on the 11th of November because it symbolizes new beginnings. I thought this is a good backdrop for embracing solitude. And well, if it means that I will have to stand in front of everyone to speak now, then I probably will have to review some of my challenges. Now, in true celebratory style, we've got a beautiful cake tailored with the book's cover design. See?
Very nice.
Good.
It's because I thought, why not eat our inspiration a bit all the way through? And of course, a glass of Prosecco is on the way. Most importantly, I want to say how deeply touched that each of you are sparing your time here. It means that your priority and plans are probably changed, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. And it's just a truly genuine, humble act for me. And I couldn't imagine sharing this moment with anyone else. Now, since this is a book launch event, it wouldn't be complete without physical book. And for those of you who prefer the actual book in your hands, I have these 5 limited copies printed today at a special price, £9.99. Otherwise, you can find it from Amazon Q at £12. So thank you again for everything. Here's a bit more to calm, clarity, creativity, and connections. Cheers.
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 Would it be possible to ask a question or two, please?
As you know, travel is what I'm most interested in, and I was fascinated by your chapter on solo travel, something I like doing a lot myself.
Yes.
You mentioned that there are 3 anchors that you recommend when you engage in some solo travel
Yes.
to make that travel more meaningful.
Right.
And I wondered if there were any particular anchors that you remembered in your own travel which made your travel more meaningful.
Okay, I am going to share my very first experience of my first trip to Australia, which you probably read from my author stories page, chapter. So I think the 3 anchors that I had was, it was when I was very, very young there. I stayed at the homestay at that time, and I got lost when I went back home. It was so dark, and back then there was no Google Map. I did not prepare for a physical map with me as well. So I think I used the anchor of trying to be thinking more creatively, stay calm, clear my mind of finding the way, try to navigate a bit everywhere, and then eventually I managed to find the destination, and which I was too excited to just fall. Is that right?
Yes.
Did I answer your question this
It
time?
does indeed.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Yes. Could I ask? Oh,
You're welcome. Yeah, that was great.
We're doing a video now, live, yeah.
You can hit that record button.
Yes.
Yes, so talking about the genre, how much can people expect in terms of spirituality versus psychology versus pragmacy, theory? Where would you say that the book and its content sits, in terms of genre, style, tonality, content?
Genre is certainly, I would categorize it as quite a psychological or spiritual thing for self-help, because I thought it mirrors the concept of a diamond, a solitary diamond, with the forces, and which I've introduced the human forces for calm, clarity, creativity, and connections. That brings us from the most ever connected world with all the notifications nowadays to calm ourselves mind, to calm our mind more calmly, and then to bring us more clarity and creativity and meaningful connections. So it's from theory to a bit of psychology and then more spiritually as well.
And I've got to ask you this.
Yes.
I know you're the author, so it's difficult to choose, but have you maybe got a favourite chapter
Yes.
of the book that you like? There's quite a big variety in there. Like, do you have a preference on what's your favourite?
I personally love all of them, but I would recommend readers to start understanding the human forces first, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to correlate everything that I talked about in the book, and the reason how this new concept was firstly thought of or introduced. So I would highly recommend the readers to read through that chapters first.
Excellent. And do you have a specific audience or readership in mind, or would you say that this was the sort of content that was accessible to many different
everyone.
Okay.
Almost everyone, because I think everyone will have different life stages and happiness, fulfillment, and challenges. But I think if you were able to achieve the solitude, which involves that 4 C's, that would create different kind of containments for you. Whether you're already a fulfilled person, that would probably take you to the next level as well. And of course, if you're not, then hopefully that will bring you some calm.
Any other questions?
Giselle, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
So what would you say you've learned about yourself in writing this book?
I've learned to be more solitude. I've learned to be able to really give myself a break, not to take loneliness as a negative thing, take it as a positive impact to our lives. That certainly shapes me to a happier person,
Good. Sounds like a good outcome.
more contained person. Yeah. Rush, did you have a question?
I have a question. I'm just trying to work out, rather than using solitude as a word,
Yeah.
how do you measure or manage the thin line between being alone and lonely?
Okay.
Because it's in the world we're living right now, it's a lot more about loneliness than being alone or solitude. So
Right.
how do you make that kind of
So
get on the right side?
right, being alone is just a physical state. That would I would characterize as being alone. Right? You can be having your meals by yourself, being alone, right? That it could have a positive impact, or just to get things done. Loneliness, on the other hand, versus solitude is a complete different concept. Loneliness is something that is, first of all, absolutely involuntary, and while solitude is a chosen thing. Loneliness would certainly lead to negative impact psychologically, and that would probably lead to depression. Whereas solitude, again, because it's voluntary, you give yourself space, you give yourself time to reflect, refocus. So that should give you more clarity and creativity, which they are all positive outcomes. So I think that that is a very, very distinct difference.
Just to kind of underneath that, when you traveled and you were traveling on your own, were you keep communicating and reconnecting to yourself all the way through, or
Yes.
were you just you had to make an effort?
Well, I think most of the time, because when I'm solo traveling, I certainly embrace the environment when I go out during the day or when I'm out. But there's always a moment when I'm back to my hotel room, right? So those are the moments where I can reflect and reflect the day, reflect who I've spoken to, reflect the connections, reflect what I have learned new for the day. So that would be a
Can I ask us a sub question? So, when you're a solo traveller, what, I don't know if effort's the right word, to what extent would you engage with others, just people, strangers, effectively?
Well, first of all, I think we have to stay open-minded. On the other hand, we also have to stay alert, especially for female.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's quite fair for a female to say that our gut sense or our sixth sense are quite sensitive sometimes. So whenever I feel that something is dodgy and
I suppose I wasn't going from that angle. It's more a case of to what it's. Bearing in mind we're talking about solitude, and you're looking at solo travel. Because of that aspect to it, to what extent would you be looking to engage with others? I think more than.
yeah. So I would be very, very open in engaging with others because, again, in my book, when I mentioned, because it's also, I think that's one of the misconceptions about solitude as well. Solitude is not just you're single or you're divorced, or it doesn't matter the status. Solitude is a state of mind where you can keep yourself with your mind cleared. So with your mind clear, and when you embrace solitude, it means that you're also welcome for more new ideas, which probably I'll answer your questions of being more open in interacting with people, because ultimately in solitude, the 4 states that I introduced, it gives you better meaningful connections as well. So once you have practiced the solitude, that will give you a better connections as well.
Okay, thank you.
Because I think that relates a lot more to the leadership, because if you look at the corporate world right now, there is more, I would say lonely, I think it's more alone, or solitude is really required. So do you see this more as a reference to even the corporate world? Because I can relate to that.
Yes.
In certain ways,
Yes.
this is just it's a life cycle. It belongs to everybody.
Correct. Certainly, it applies to corporate role as well, because again, solitude, first of all, is not about just yourself. But I think, especially being a leader in a corporate, when you have to deal with so many teammates and corporate affairs, you will certainly need a moment to think clearly, to be connecting to people of more meaningful conversations, and to come up, of course, clearer strategies of how to move things forward. So certainly for corporate leaders, you should practice solitude as well.
Okay, so are you already thinking about writing the second chapter on this book.
Yeah, yeah. I can't be sure if the next one would be about solitude exactly or a little bit of variations along the line. But yeah, that would be open for that. Thank you.
I have a question. So, first of all, congratulations on the book. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
And also, I want to congratulate whoever chose this English sparkling wine, which is the Louis Pommier from England. I totally approve. It's one of my favourite English sparkling wines. I did lots of non-vegetarian champagne. I said this, I do a lot of work with the wine trade. But just using this as a metaphor, I do lots of things by myself, and I'm very happy to do that. I don't feel lonely at all.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of appreciating a glass of bubbly, I prefer it to be a shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to pop open a bottle of this at home and drink in solitude, quite frankly, as much as I love it. So, what's your advice?
I know that's where I'm coming from. When you open this glass of bubbles, yes, and I would like to share the moment with everyone. However, you like to practice solitude to enjoy it yourself. Yeah?
Drink on your own at home or in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Take it for one, and I'm very happy
When you sip your thing, you gotta enjoy it yourself. You can't share it.
Oh, you should.
I mean, you can share the feelings, but the taste of how you taste it.
I mean, the point is, the irony is, for those of us who are into wine, I would prefer it to be a shared experience. The companions don't have to be wine kings. They don't need to be masters of wine. But sometimes you could meet friends who say, I don't drink. Which is absolutely fine. So the younger people now are really not into alcohol. Or some will tell you, I don't know anything about wine. So the conversation sort of ends there. You don't want to bore people with the technicalities. So as much as I can enjoy a glass or two, even three by myself, I'd rather not open a bottle all by myself and just write a wine report, send it to you, and enjoy the bubbly in solitude. I mean, that's kind of a
But yeah, you certainly do not have to enjoy solitude all the time, or you certainly do not have to enjoy a nice glass of bottle of a nice bottle of wine or prosecco or champagne, whatever, with everyone all the time. You can enjoy it. But I'm not saying that it's either you open the bottle of champagne with everyone every time, or you enjoy the solitude. But I think you can do it whatever way you prefer. Sometimes you do good, sometimes you do wrong to celebrate your own success. I think that would be something different as well.
go to Mount Everest and pop open a bottle, enjoy it by yourself. I'll do a live stream and send it to you.
I was gonna add on that. Is that the thing is, for me, the solitude in this perspective is when I have a single malt aged whiskey, I don't want to share with anybody. And that is my time, and I really don't want anybody in that space at all.
Where do you live again?
I live in Kingston, but I think I understand what your point is, but I think it's more about it's what the timing or where you are in that particular moment that you need to want to enjoy that moment. However, I can see 4 C's that has a lot more to offer. Depends where you're coming from, but it's daily use. Are we not? Those 4 C's are always there in front of us. It's how we can pick and choose and how we deal with it.
When we've spoken before, I've talked about the sort of my own concept or whatever of solitude and an active life, in the sense of, if I have, let's say, 3 meaningful social interactions in a week, then I can enjoy the solitude. But yes, 7 days by myself isn't good. So it's that balance, I think, that we need.
Yes.
You literally like a monk if you by yourself all the time. So you need that balance of going out and meeting people and sharing wine and food together, as well as at home having a single malt by yourself.
And I think this also brings back to what my book talks about, because everyone is different. So the solitude is really just a state of mind where you can practice in whichever your comfort zone is. If opening a bottle of champagne, you want to celebrate it with everyone, that's not your solitude moment. You can find something else. But if you
Go for the
want
whiskey
to,
then.
Go for the whiskey, then that would be a solitude. So everyone's, preference is very different. Everyone's comfort zone of practicing solitude, it's very different.
I do have a question. Sorry for being late.
Thank you for being here.
To your event, so it's great to be here. I'll probably say as an artist, we spend so much of our time in solitude, contemplating about our work, but then also celebrating it with an audience, a crowd. So, in a sense, that's kind of part of the question, because how I engage with my audience, how do you engage with your readers, or how do you intend to engage with your readers?
Right, okay. So, my book, I kind of structure my book in a theoretical way. But then after all those, so first of all, I certainly would have to tell my readers of how that concept came about, which I shared within my author story or author's journey. Then I talk a little bit about how that human forces concept came about. But then I thought, oh, this is probably a bit too boring, a bit too dry. So I came up with a very quick psychological test of 10 simple questions. Then for readers to get more engaged and to find out which C they need immediately. Now again, solitude is a state of mind where you can practice throughout your life. If the result of your psychological test today is clarity, it doesn't mean that 2 months after, when you do the test, it's the same answer. Because again, you will need different C at different stage of life. So I think that would be one of the ways to get my readers engaged, and then get it more practical as well. So let's say your result is clarity, then you can easily just jump to the chapter that talks about, oh, how can I achieve clarity? And then go from there.
So as you mentioned, there's a practical element to this as well as a theoretical base.
That's right. So that's why I think it's also categorized as a self-help, because I think a lot of, if I'm correct, a lot of books currently published is more about concept of self-help, but not a lot of them give practical solutions or practical ideas on how to achieve certain things. And I thought that would be a nice idea to blend them together.
What else about this book?
Sorry, another question. How do you think COVID/lockdown affected people? I mean, really, in the context of what we're talking about here, because that was for a lot of people, that was real loneliness.
Yeah. So I think solitude. Okay, so COVID, it's kind of forced us to be locked in a space with your partner, your family, in a space 24 hours, 7 days, which probably a lot of people will never even experience for their lifetime. So by practicing solitude, I think you can find space of your own. Say, for example, in the books I've mentioned, that you can probably put in an earplug to create your own space. That would be a way of solitude. Instead of going to the washroom, lock your door, and find the solitude moment. I think solitude is, as a start, I would suggest people to do it in a more deliberate way. If you're not used to it.